Hi there, everyone. I'm Chase Raz, and this is the Zilliqa Observer. I'm here today with an analysis of ZilConnect and their white paper because ZilConnect is something that I keep seeing popping up from time to time across Twitter, Telegram, and other social media in the Zilliqa space. I don't particularly know who is behind ZilConnect. No name on the white paper, no name on the website, no real author stepping up saying, hey, this is mine. And of course, that's a yellow flag for me at the very beginning. And I think I'm going to convert that when I create an official rubric for these things. I think I'm going to convert that to a red flag. I get that this is a crypto space and this is blockchain, but this is also the Zilliqa space where if you want to run a node, you have to be whitelisted. You have to be known. You have to be approved. We're in a way permissioned. And so it's not like this is Bitcoin where it's just, go run a node and nobody knows who you are ever. So I definitely want to say that what I'm about to cover, we don't know who it's from. There's some speculation out there in the world, and I don't want to fall into that speculation. So let me just go with what I know and walk through the white paper. The very first page is, there's no cover page or anything like that. It's a table of contents. And I have the table of contents highlighted here within the table of contents because I want to talk about this for a moment. Doing things like this, incorrectly making a table of contents, no cover page, these minor things that feel so nitpicky when coming from a business analyst is the role I'm playing here. They seem so nitpicky, but it's like I tell my students, whether they're corporate students, whether they're university students, one of the key points of training is to get these points down because they signal something. They signal understanding. They signal the ability to know what's going on in business. They signal intellect. They signal knowledge. They signal all of these different things. And so when you have a white paper beginning, again, no cover page, no names, no introduction, no abstract, no nothing, and opening with a table of contents that lists a table of contents in the table of contents, we have quite a yellow flag here. And honestly, why that's important. So for those of you working on projects, I want you to take something away from this. Why that's important is, except for those folks who are trying to invest in really rough gems based on the ideas and the founding team. Again, no known founding team here. Except for those few individuals, most of the serious investors you're ever going to find are already gone at this point. This has signaled to them, too many yellow and red flags will come back once they've grown a little bit. So I'm not being nitpicky here. That is a very clear piece of communication. But let's look into the details. I have quite a bit marked up here, and we'll try to go through piece by piece, but still make this a reasonable time. So the idea of ZilConnect is basically a social media site, if I'm understanding correctly, and you'll see why I'm not 100% sure in just a moment. The opening sentence here, a big issue in today's world is that not many people take note of, that not many people take note of, is social media companies selling user data to third parties. I already disagree with the first statement. I think a lot of people take note of that. Here in the United States, an entire presidential campaign of Andrew Yang was run partly on this issue. This was what he noted as a way we would fund universal basic income if it ever came to America. Look, I know a lot of you in the crypto space lean libertarian and may not be a fan of that idea. You probably know I'm pro UBI. I'm not bringing politics into this. My point is, it doesn't matter our position on such things. This is a very well-known situation. So again, it's all about signaling that you're in the know, that you're on top of something, that you have your finger on the pulse of something, that people want to get excited about following you down the path you're putting yourself on. So the idea is to bring an end to this, right? This is what they're saying, that they're going to bring an end to the collection of third-party data storage from social media, but we never see that followed up upon. What we do see is saying that ZilConnect is a social media platform that stores users' private data in an individual private wallet. So instead of, and there, by the way, there are a lot of, sorry for the notification popping up there. There are a lot of startups, companies that are working on this very issue, that are working on how do we let people retain ownership of their data and sell them to sites or access them to sites that monetize it in exchange for perks. There is a lot of big work going on, big companies, social media companies, in academia. It's not like nobody's looking at this. So when we see, hey, we want to end this practice, but then what we're going to do is we're going to not do anything with anybody else, but we're also going to collect the data. I think this could use more references and resources to what's going on already in the world and how something like ZilConnect would play in with those. How could it partner with those? How could it do any of those things? So the IPW, or individual private wallet, stores your personal information, but then you have the choice to send it to a server public wallet. And at that point, great. It seems like the establishment of a data marketplace is what's being presented here. Some yellow flags just keep coming up, though. ZilPlan connects to accomplish this by putting users in complete control. And one of the things we should be able to control with ZilConnect is clearing data. I'd love to see this expanded upon, because I know how you're going to store the data, upload the data, transfer the data, but how exactly with a blockchain solution are we going to clear the data? I want to know what that entails. And there are some clues and some cues onto what the creators are thinking here in just a moment. So then there's this section about IPWs and SPWs, the two different types of wallets described. The IPW stores personal data while browsing the web. Again, I've already called out that this is tracking without preventing or regulating other trackers. This is not tapping into the pulse of where the market already is with this type of idea. I think some partnerships might be in order. I think some reach out to non-blockchain sources that are working on, and other blockchain sources that are working on this very thing would be in order, and should definitely be name dropped in here. Should definitely be saying, oh, and we're working with this consortium or this association or this other, social project on Ethereum, because there are some Ethereum-based ones that do this, that's trying something very similar. I think this would be a really good place for that. But things get a little confusing for me, honestly, and I don't know if this is just me or if everybody reads it the same way. We see when a user sends information to an SPW, that public wallet, all users can access the information. So this effectively acts as posting as you would on modern day social media. And now I'm confused. Is this a social network property? Twitter, Telegram, Reddit? Or is this, I'm publicly giving my browsing data away for what reason? What's the monetization mechanism in place? What's the ownership control mechanism in place? So the idea is that you're going to be able to follow these wallets that have personal data. Why do I want to follow even my best friend's browsing data? I want to promise you I'm not missing the point. This is done through a data warehouse, a data marketplace. That's how this information is exchanged. This is what I teach, folks. You're not going to individually offer up your data to one blockchain service on one blockchain, and now you have control of your data. This has done nothing to block Google, Facebook, and others, and Amazon especially, the big three in advertising. It's done nothing to block them from tracking you. It's done nothing to work with their data source to track you. It's now just saying you have your own information collected in a private wallet and you can socially post it. Why? Why? When, as a marketer, when I buy this information, all right, and I do, when I buy this information, what I want is targetable yet anonymized data. That comes through a data market, a data warehouse, something like that. It doesn't come from individuals saying, hey, here's my data, feel free to target me. That's unsustainable in terms of scale. I need to be able to target, depending on what I'm working on, I need to be able to target hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands or more people, depending on the specificity of my targeting. And you get where I'm going with that. Like, I don't understand, and the white paper here does not clarify why would we ever post our personal browsing information. But I don't want to get too hung up on that. I want to keep going. In order to create or comment on posts on this SPW, this public wallet, which again, I was originally under the assumption that this was a social media site, but now we're also posting our public. There's some confusion. Maybe it's just in my head, but there's some confusion here. But in order to create or comment or do any of these activities, we essentially have to LP. Take a look at this. We have to provide equivalent amounts of ZilConnect, and the rate is to be determined, they said. And anyway, it's right here. 50% ZilConnect, 50% CNCT, based on whatever that rate is. So this signals a few things to me. One, I have a question over here. Why exactly am I having to LP to post my private data? Why exactly am I having to LP in order to post social media, whatever's going on here? Why am I having to LP to do it? It raises the barrier to entry and increases the likelihood that this project wouldn't take off. Again, there are similar projects on other blockchains that are trying to deal with private social media. There are similar projects on other blockchains that are trying to deal with how your information is governed. This isn't making a lot of sense here. Why should the poster, who's freely now giving away their personal information, why are they LPing? And I get it. Look, I'm critical of myself as I do these reviews, and I can imagine someone saying, well, you're missing the point. Put it in the comments, because there's no doubt that I could be missing the point. But my key point beyond that is the way the white paper is written leads me to these questions, leads me to these thoughts. So I'm not sure why we're having to LP, but they do say that, oh, well, this makes it costly for bots to operate. What bots are out there running, getting fake data? Are you creating bad? Again, is this a social website or is this a data marketplace? I get it. All social media properties are both the data marketplace and that. But this is not how the connection between those two pieces works. It's not how it works. And frankly, if it makes it, in this case, this is not what I'm about to say is not always true. But in this case, if it makes it costly for a bot to operate, it also makes it costly for the poster who's freely giving their public information and choosing to post on this network. It's making it expensive for them as well. Again, that's not always true, right? There's not always a one-to-one relationship between those two statements, but in this case, there is. So here's let me get it to a deeper point. Quote, if the user withdraws the liquidity provided before a week of providing liquidity, their post will be deleted. Well, now you've just told me we're not even on the blockchain. Why am I LPing ZilConnect and CNCT or Connect tokens when if you can delete the post, we're not even on the blockchain? Are you going to commit the post to the blockchain at that point? And if so, what is the post? Is it, hi guys, I'm ready for ZilConnect to ATH today, or is it, here's my public browsing information? It's very unclear. Like, are we posting, what is the nature of the social media site, and why are we having to LP in order to post? And that, right, these questions are starting to stack up. So just to recap, we now have a wallet that's collecting your data, not blocking anybody else from doing so, like the initial statement. You have to LP in order to post or interact with this in any way. Now, that does change in the white paper. I'll give them credit there. It does change in a little bit. We have no idea what we're really posting. Is this a social media site, or am I posting just my data, or both, or what does that look like? And we're not on the blockchain because they delete your post if you remove liquidity. Okay. Let's keep going into the tokenomics, because look, I know my YouTube statistics. I'm going to see a big drop off in viewership right after that statement, because that's more than most people need to hear. I'm personally very interested in the tokenomics. And by the way, for those of you who are thinking of leaving, stick around for a minute, because I do have a few nice things to say here. I really do. I have a few nice things to say. Tokenomics. Pretty straightforward. 1 million supply. The initial supply going to LP. They never explicitly state this. You can see over here I'm saying they never explicitly state this. My mouse isn't working properly. Sorry. But 100,000. So 10% is going to LP initially. They're keeping 25,000, whoever these developers are, and then the remaining 875,000. That math checks out. Good to know there. I'm laughing at myself because I didn't check it before. Like, oh, I should have checked the math. Yeah, obviously. That math checks out. 875 is going to be dispersed. They never say this. They never directly link it. You have to read the whole thing and kind of figure it out. But this is distributed to it through a 10% weekly reward. We'll come back to that in a moment, because what I do have to say that's relatively nice here is you can get the sense that I'm not getting a lot of optimism about this project. I don't know who's behind it. I'm not fully clear on what they're trying to do. And again, the people you're trying to impress, unless you're just trying to sell some Connect tokens, pump up the price, cash out for some ZIL, and move on. If you're really building something here, and I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Some of you are scratching your heads going, why is he still talking? Some of you are ready to say the S word, 4-letter S word, SCAM. Some of you are ready to say that. I'm going to give every white paper that I see the benefit of the doubt. Because if these things are scams, somebody else may come along and go, but what can we take from it? What did they really, truly have their fingers on the pulse of? And what did they not? And here's one thing I think. I want to know who wrote this, and I want to know where they got it from, whether it's I know it's not a fully original idea, but it's original enough. It's a good idea. Let me go into this. In the governance with CNCT section, there's something that is awe-inspiring and chilling here. And again, I know it's not a completely unique idea, but the idea is you vote. You vote with the governance token. But at the end of the vote, all of those voting tokens are evenly distributed among all voters. That's crazy. And in a way, if you had a strictly governance token only, no other function, it's almost beautiful in a way, and I might have to borrow and appropriate from you on this. The reason is, it challenges voters in two ways. One, to make sure everybody participates in the vote and you're paying attention. And you see, because you have something in the game, if even if you have a wallet with just one governance token in it, or you make a wallet with just one governance token in it for this purpose, and you vote with one token, just showing I'm here, I'm making my voice heard, but you know that somebody else cares a lot, you could have a potential upside of gaining more governance tokens. Likewise, if you really, really care about something and you're a whale and you're going to go distribute influence out into the world, you have to be careful about how important each vote is to you, because part of that governance token, because you're going to outvote other people, you either build coalition or you're going to outvote other people, and you're going to lose that governance token, portions of it, by this redistribution of governance. Look, if you really believe in this idea, whoever wrote this, let's DM. If you're a scam and you wrote this, let's DM. I want to know where this comes from, why you put this in there. It's that important. This is something to pay attention to. This part. I have to be honest. Look, me personally, this project is not far enough along, advanced, disclosed, anything else for me to become involved otherwise on my own personal investing, having nothing to do with the ZilConnect Observer. But I like that governance thing. Let me keep going, though, because not everybody cares about that initial part. Let's get into this liquidity idea, that you have to stake liquidity, because in fairness, at the very end of this document, it all goes away and this service becomes essentially free at the end of it. So what does that look like? What does it look like? In order to post and create and all of that, you essentially have to LP. And the LPing is done, or do liquidity provisioning. And the LP is not provided directly through ZilSwap or any other DEX or any centralized exchange. What you have to do to LP is go directly through a smart contract from ZilConnect. So you relinquish your Connect tokens and your ZIL, because I believe it's dual token. I don't believe they're creating a single token structure. You relinquish that to this contract that's in ZilConnect's control, and they LP on your behalf. What do you get if this, works out? If this becomes a thing, what would you be getting for doing that? I'm stuttering all over the place trying to keep my bearings at this moment. 10% weekly in that CNCT or Connect token. 10% weekly. They say that they need this for accurate rewards right here. I'm going to call BS on that. Straightforward. I'm just going to straight shoot that one. That's BS. That's bullshit. You can provide accurate rewards without being a middleman to the liquidity pool. And I'm going to be relying on what's written down here in the final paragraph before going to the roadmap. The liquidity pool does this, right? If you're relinquishing your tokens to ZilConnect and they're LPing, it doesn't say where the actual fees go, right? The fee rewards that you would get for LPing. I assume that they collect those, that they take those, and that's part of their monetization. If so, great, fine, just put it in the white paper, be transparent. Look, either way we go, when you sit down and diagram out the tokenomics of this, you end up in a place where ZilConnect would control all of the ZIL within the LP. They would control all of the CNCT or Connect token within the LP. So the entire liquidity pool is theirs. Depending on your interpretation of this document, it could be said that all of the CNCT might end up back in their control, which would enable them to then cash out the Connect token, grab all of those ZILs, and do whatever. Whether it's legitimate to fund the project or not, or whether it's a rug, we don't know. However, my interpretation of the white paper is where there would be a bunch of Connect tokens out in the world. But this would leave ZilConnect in the position that they control the entire at that point. I mean, you would be free to go and add into the pool yourself, forgo the 10% rewards and do it. After the 10% rewards ends, which is once the 875,000 in reserve have been distributed through these 10% weekly rewards, there's nothing that can stop somebody else from LPing on their own. But again, the vast majority of this LP, if you are buying into this system, if you're going into it, they're going to control the ZIL, they're going to control a heavy amount of the CNCT, not only because you're relinquishing it for them to stake, but also you're relinquishing it as expenditure to post. Again, what are we posting? I don't know. That's a whole other issue. But then, so now they control the LP and they control a big pile of their own token. And so, again, for legitimate funding purposes or otherwise, it's very easy then to go in and extract all of that ZIL. That could be fine. That could be a scam as well. I don't know. You've got to put that stuff in the white paper so we understand. Right now, the way it reads is that it's trying to hide it in a way, saying, oh, well, we need to do this for accurate rewards, which is, one, absolutely false. Anybody in the ZilConnect ecosystem who's worked with tokens can tell you that's absolutely false. But it makes it look like there's hiding behind that, whether that's the intent or not. Again, I really want to know what the plan is, because at that point, we all see what that is. There needs to be more transparency around this process, why it's being done, what some of the funding milestones are going to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Otherwise, you can't really expect utility token holders to come in and be comfortable putting their money into this. It's not fair to them. And frankly, those folks who know how to invest, which is why I'm doing these videos. Keep in mind why they're so long, why I talk so much. You have to be prepared for the bridge that's coming. Bitcoin and Ethereum investors are a lot like us, but there are a lot more seasoned stock, Forex, commodity, and other traders mixed in there. These ideas that are going around of, hey, we're going to start with a white paper and raise some money that way and move along, legitimate or scams, folks coming in are going to be able to eat your lunch quickly. Look, overall, the bridge is going to be so positive. But the amateur hour of this type of white paper has to be done because it's imperative that we game up now. So again, I'm not going to make an assessment on whether this is a scam or legitimate or whatnot. The fact that there's no team name on here is quite telling to me. Not that there has to be, but we don't know whose this is. And the folks that are trying to figure it out, I'm not even bothering, because they're going in circles with people who keep changing their names on Telegram and on Twitter. And I'm not doing that. I'm not here for sport. I'm not here for an intellectual mind. This is business analysis, and I'm not touching ZilConnect with a 10-foot pole right now for the reasons I've specified, and that's not personal. I believe that the governance model of this is beautiful and would be applicable to certain projects. Not everything should do that, of course. But I also do think that there are a couple of other highlights in here. The big thing that I'm left with, though, is what about the data? So now we know that you control the entire LP if all this plays out. The product, even as I alluded to before, supposedly becomes free at this point. I'm highlighting that section now. But now you've collected all of this data. What are you doing with it? Is it going to a marketplace? And the reason I ask that is that's how a lot of, if you've ever played a video game on your mobile phone or even on the web, and in their terms, of course, you see that they're collecting the data. But you have that moment where you realize, I've never been shown an ad on this game. I've never seen one. That doesn't mean they're not part of the ad network. So what these sites can do and what these games can do is they can collect our data. They can collect our user data. And then they essentially end up monetizing it by selling it into the data that's being used by Google, Facebook, Amazon, and the others like I mentioned before. And so then the targeting becomes possible, or more refined. So sites that never even show you an ad can be part of ad networks. And I think if somebody's legitimately going to build this, if this isn't just bullshit wasting our time, and if somebody's really going to build this, then my assumption is that's probably what's happening with the data behind the scenes. But therein lies the problem. We come back to the fact that if this is a legitimate project, then this white paper is completely non-transparent about so many factors. It's unclear about how the social network property functions itself. And it leads me to a point where this is something I'm certainly not going to touch. I imagine people, we're seeing more pump and dump activity on Zilliqa, unfortunately. I imagine people might try, I don't want to touch that. I'm not here for that, despite some of the accusations I've heard in the community. And if you think I am, you're wasting your time. So I'm not wasting my time with any more of this. That doesn't mean that ZilConnect is a waste of time. If there's a team behind this or an individual behind this that's very serious, look, I'm not the arbiter of all truth, but I'd be more than happy to walk you through some of my other concerns that I'm not airing here, how to clear them up, how to make some positive impact in the world, and how to take this idea, which is a good idea overall, and how to refine it into something that in the business world we say is viable and feasible, right? Those are two very different things, and they both have to be in play in order to make a business or a DApp work. And so viability and feasibility is what we'd look at. Talk to me, talk to a business advisor. You can go find small business advisors pretty much on almost any college, especially public colleges and universities, almost any college campus across the world that has a business school. I would advise you to do that. I hope if this is a legitimate team that wants to make something happen, that you don't view my criticisms and my analysis as negative. It's just what it is. It's business analysis. Take care, everybody, and take care of your tokens, take care of your money, take care of your time. All of these things are important because when you lose them, you can't get them back.